Want to bring in one of the best writers I know out there, and just doing a terrific job of covering major issues on university campuses around the country. Brad Polumbo. He has a brand new piece up on thefederalist.com. What I learned when I enrolled in a race, gender, and oppression studies class. Brad, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back on.
All right, well, and I appreciate you holding on. We were going to get you on right at the bottom of the hour, but a lot of folks are fired up over this immigration stuff. But this is a big story, and I wanted you to explain to our listeners what's going on these university campuses. So you actually enrolled in a race, gender, and oppression studies class.
Sure did. I'm one of the only conservative students, or at least publicly conservative students, at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where I'll be graduating from this May. And that's probably one of the most liberal college campuses in one of the most liberal states in America. So for a lot of college conservatives, and I understand why they do this, but they tend to not want to engage with really the far leftist professors, the really far leftist student groups, because obviously there are some threats to student speech, and it can be tough to speak out at times. But I wanted to actually engage with those ideas, especially because I want a career in arguing against them. So I went up and I signed up for my last semester in college in a whole course dedicated to basically grievance studies about race and gender and oppression and all of that. And I'll tell you, Todd, it's been quite the ride.
I can imagine. And again, we haven't really talked about this on the program, and I've been a big fan of your work for a long time now. But you write, as a gay person, you say, I can tell you it's not always fun to be in the minority, and in some cases it can be incredibly difficult. Yet it's simply not true that anyone who is a minority in a given culture is automatically oppressed.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times we're presented with either this false dichotomy. Either there's no oppression and there's nothing wrong going on in America, or we have this super PC version presented to us where anyone who's not a straight white male is viciously oppressed by the patriarchal United States of America. And my point is that that is not true, right? The liberal narrative that's pushed on these college campuses, a lot of the time, it has such an expansive definition of what it means to be oppressed that basically anybody who feels like they're oppressed can be considered oppressed. And that has a really destructive impact on the mentality and the ambition of young people. And so it really concerns me for the future.
Well, it's a fair point. Brad, a couple of days ago, I pointed out that Mayor Buttigieg, we called him out for lying about Vice President Pence. And a couple of weeks before that, we were defending the mayor on the program, saying it really doesn't matter that he's a white guy. It really doesn't matter whether or not he's gay enough, whatever the heck that means. Yeah. And yet Raw Story and the New York Times, they all came out and said, Starnes is gay bashing. I'm anti-gay. And it bothers me that I have to come out on my radio program and say, I'm not anti-gay. It's just because you disagree with someone politically doesn't make you a hateful human being.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. And I think that Mayor Pete has run into a little bit of a problem, like you said, where for almost the people on the left, he's not intersectional enough. Yes, he's gay, but he's also a white man. So for them, that's just not quite intersectional enough for the Democrats in 2020. And that kind of gets back to the point, because where do you think that kind of ideology, that kind of thinking, Todd, where does it come from? It comes from the college campuses. It comes from the gender studies departments. It comes from the liberal arts professors, who are by and large very leftist. And that's why we have to engage with these ideas at the start, right? Because when you have people, you have professors, you have academics on college campuses pushing narratives of self-victimization, then it leads to this kind of skewed identity politics that we see kind of consuming the American debate.
Brad, it's a terrific column you wrote, and it's an important column that you wrote as well on The Federalist. Brad, do you have your own website by any chance, or how can folks reach out to you?
No, not my own website, but you can keep up with all my work by going to my Twitter page. That's Brad. It's at Brad_Polumbo, Polumbo. Yeah,
I follow you on Twitter. You got to get a website, Brad. I mean, you're like a big deal now.
I'll get on that, Todd. Thanks.
All right, Brad, appreciate you holding on. And